Good morning and welcome to this episode of Getting to Know Our Heavenly Family. Today I want to introduce you to one of the very first followers of St. Francis of Assisi and one of his dearest friends. Very little is known about the early years of Blessed Giles of Assisi. In April of 1209, still a young man, Giles witnessed two young men from Assisi leave behind all that they had in order to follow Francis. On April 23, he went to the little hermitage where the three brothers were dwelling and begged to join them. St. Francis welcomed him with love, and together they begged for a bit of fabric so Giles could wear a habit. This small group of brothers spent their days in prayer, preaching, mostly by example, and doing menial tasks to support themselves and to provide alms for the poor. Now that they were four, the brothers were able to go out, 2 by 2, to preach. Francis and Giles traveled to the marches of Ancona. After this first missionary journey, the small band of brothers walked to Rome. There they sought an audience with Pope Innocent III, who, though initially hesitant, gave approval to the first Franciscan rule. The brothers rejoiced to know that the Church had approved their desire to live radically, just as Jesus did. Giles asked his Holy Father Francis if he may visit the holy sites. Francis readily agreed, knowing that wherever Giles went, he showed souls the way to God through his humble presence. Giles traveled to the Way of St. James at Compostela in Spain, then to the Holy Land to walk in the footsteps of Jesus, and stopped in a few notable Italian shrines on his journey home. At the first general chapter of 1219, at this point, the order had grown to 5,000 men. St. Francis appointed Giles and a select few companions to preach the gospel in Tunis, Africa. This missionary journey was unsuccessful because, as soon as the friars arrived, the heavily persecuted Christians of the area put the friars on another boat headed back to Italy. They feared an increase of persecution if the friars were to preach and attempt to convert the Muslims of the area. After the friars returned from Africa, St. Francis called Giles to remain in Italy. Giles was present for the death of his beloved father Francis in October of 1226. At this time, his spiritual experiences began to increase. He would fall into ecstasy when he contemplated paradise. Several spiritual leaders sought his prayers and advice, including Pope Gregory IX. Giles, always humble, did not feel worthy to advise the Vicar of Christ, though he did comply with the Pope's request out of obedience. Blessed Giles died on April 23, 1262, 52 years to the day after his entrance into the Order of Friars Minor, the Brothers of St. Francis. Francis was fond of calling Brother Giles a knight of our round table. Giles was known to be a humble man, one who strove always to live the Gospels and to bring others back into right relationship with Jesus. He was a mystic, yet also a simple preacher. A book of his sayings was published shortly after his death. May his example of humility, simplicity, and sincerity inspire each of us to imitate the humble, simple, and sincere life of Christ. Blessed Giles of Assisi, pray for us.